Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss book 3 in the original Goosebumps series, Monster Blood. So this came out September 1992? September 92 by R.L. Stine, Goosebumps, Monster Blood. So I looked it up. Fear Street is the first bit within R.L. Stine's, creepy, spooky universe. I mean, he has other, single stories thrown in here and there, but 89 is what started Fear Street, and then Fear Street series had multiple iterations. Goosebumps started in 92, had multiple iterations. So eventually I'm going to have to backtrack and go back to the original Fear Street books. It's going to take a while to get through these 62 Goosebumps books, and so on and so forth, and what have you. So September 92's Monster Blood. Awesome, quick. They're all about 120, 130 pages within that little parameter. It's quick. It's like watching a TV episode with some extra stuff thrown in, which is convenient because there was the TV show back in the 90s, which is just very quick, 30-minute long program, which is really 23 minutes with commercials. So what's Monster Blood? Now, Monster Blood is so cool because I have to make a prop. It's a can of Monster Blood, and it's described as it's a blue can. It's no bigger than a soup can. That's what Evan and his friend Andy find at this toy store. And it says Monster Blood, surprisingly something something. So I can make this. All you gotta do is just get an old can of soup with a little pop top, clean it, spray paint it blue, put a sign on it. I gotta figure out the little green oozy stuff to come out. But I can easily make this prop, and I'm going to make this prop. So Monster Blood is character of Evan. His mom drops him off at his great aunt's house, his dad's aunts, who he used to stay with when he was a kid, so that way she can take care of him while they find a house in Atlanta, because his dad just got transferred to Atlanta. Doesn't actually mention where the aunt lives, which I find odd, to be honest. Still a great book. No idea where it takes place. All I know is that it's a plane ride away from Atlanta. So that could be anywhere within the States. So I don't know. That was my only complaint about this book, is that it doesn't actually mention where it is, where it takes place. So Evan is staying with this great aunt, Catherine, who's deaf, who refuses to learn sign language, who refuses to read lips. She'll read a notepad if he writes on it. That's it. Evan has his dog, Cocker Spaniel Trigger. His dog's name is Trigger. Trigger's not allowed in the house, so he has to stay in this dog run pen in the backyard. So Evan meets this girl, Andrea, who's just nicknamed Andy, in the street. So he's a new local kid. It's summertime. She's a local kid, so they are introduced. He is introduced to the local bullies, the twins that are just gigantic twins, and they're just picking on them constantly. So Andy asks Evan if he wants to go with her into town, because she has to find a gift for her cousin for their birthday. So they go to this old toy store. They can't really find anything. There's nothing organized properly. There's dolls mixed with building toys and trucks mixed with other things. So eventually they find a back room where this Monster Blood is. And it's just a blue can, no bigger than a soup can. It's called Monster Blood. And Evan wants it. And the guy refuses to sell it to them. So eventually he caves and sells it to them for $2, and Andy wants a part of it. But Evan doesn't want to share it, so they just play with it together. And it's just ooze. It's goo, it's slime. Every generation has their own version of it. The current generation, the current young kid generation, the alpha generation, has it as slime. Back in my day, we called it gack. Before that, it was stuff, right? So this is just called Monster Blood. So it's slimy and it's sticky, but when they first take it out of the can, it's cold and it's like Jello, but it's solidified. So it's kind of like you can bounce it and it's not gonna, splat places. So they play with it. The dog winds up eating some. The dog starts to change. The dog starts to get bigger. And they're like, what's going on? They take him to the vet. Vet can't figure it out. They do some blood work. They said the lab work will come back in a couple days, but we never actually revisit the lab work in a couple days. Whatever. It's not really relevant. Dog keeps getting bigger, and the slime keeps getting bigger. The Monster Blood keeps getting bigger, and then it starts to pulsate as it's breathing and kind of thing, and it starts to suck onto something if it's near it. So then Andy and Evan split it up. So she has a coffee can's worth and he has a bucket's worth, but then it keeps growing. So he puts it in a bathtub and then he puts it in a garbage can. And then eventually, as the story progresses, the two bullies come back and, like, things happen. So the garbage can's knocked over after they beat up Evan. Very, very violent scene. And the monster blood sucks the two bullies in, and then starts to attack the Aunt Catherine, who is presumed to be a witch, because she's got creepy stuff and she got a bone on her neck and as a necklace and things, right? The black cat Sarah Beth is just, cuckoo herself, piercing yellow eyes. And then Catherine's freaking out after, the blob is trying to attack her, and it's revealed that Sarah Beth is actually a witch who then transfigures back into human form, and she put a curse on Catherine, indicating that the monster blood was going to be cursed, and this is the aftermath of this witch's curse, who's actually a cat. And so now that the curse is broken, Catherine can hear again, and Sarah Beth is defeated by the monster blood sucking her in and spits out the twins, but then keeps Sarah Beth in and then crumbles in on itself. And then a tiny little wedge of goo is still around in the living room. So Evan's mom comes back. This is weeks later, and to pick him up so that way they get to their 4:00 flight. Her and Catherine go into the kitchen to have a conversation over tea about what transpired within the curse and the cat and stuff for 20 years. And then Andy's like, can I keep that little tiny piece of the monster blood just as a memento? And Evan's like, yeah, I don't need it. You can have it. As he prepares to exchange numbers with her to go, live in Atlanta. But then they turn, and then the piece of monster blood is gone. Dun, dun, dun. Very quick, very fun. Little things, like there's the thing with the vet, like they never got the test results back. The town was never mentioned. I'm nitpicking here. This book is made for elementary school kids, as all elementary school kids since the 90s, and I was one of them, was obsessed with Goosebumps. So 30 years later, kids are still loving Goosebumps, and that's all that matters. But now that I'm a quote-unquote adult, and I'm reading these again, I'm paying attention to certain details. So certain details in this weren't actually fully explained. But aside from that, I am going to make a can of Monster Blood prop. I got a can of soup ready to go. I can't wait. I'm going to have it for lunch. I'm going to drain it. I'm going to clean the can. I'm going to spray paint it on next weekend, hopefully within the sun beaming down. The key with painting is you do it in the warmer weather because the sun helps bake on quicker, rather than the cold, frigid air of the winter. Doesn't really do anything for drying. It's the heat that does stuff for drying of paint. Anyway, fun book, which did spur 3 other sequels, which I'm very curious if the wedge goes to the next person within Monster Blood 2. That I'm going to pay attention to, because there's a few different Goosebumps books which have their own sequels. So there's Monster Blood 2, Monster Blood 3, Monster Blood 4. We'll see what happens next. Can't wait. Stay spooky, my friends. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.